Okay, so, um, Oz is more messed up than we thought. I mean, we already knew he was a bit psycho, but damn. So, the episode starts with a flashback, and actually, most of this episode is a flashback, where we finally find out what happened to Jack and Benny, and I cannot say that without cracking up because, like I mentioned, there was an actor comedian named Jack Benny. Um, so we finally find out. So, as far as we can tell, Frances is a single mother raising 3 kids because still we've heard nothing about a father. We know nothing. I mean, as far as we know, he's just a sperm donor. Since they all had the same last name, and I'm going to assume that that's Frances's last name, not that, something happened to their father. Because there still has been no mention of what happened to him. So maybe she was married and something happened and so she ended up having to raise 3 kids on her own. Or he was just a sperm donor and Cobb is her name rather than whomever the father is. So, and the way Oz was looking at her, I'm like, oh, Freud would love this kid. It's classic Oedipus complex. Because the way Oedipus complex is used more frequently and a lot less creepy is this idea that men go on to marry women who resemble their mothers, and the Electra complex is the opposite. Girls grow up to marry men who resemble their fathers. The way Freud actually did this was far more creepy and far more ick. He didn't say that just that little girls wanted to marry men who resemble their fathers or little boys wanted to grow up and marry women who resemble their mothers. His thought was that little boys were literally in love with their mothers and wanted to marry their mothers. Now, there might be some of that, but it's not as ick as what Freud turns it out to be, because Freud was seriously obsessed with sex. Anyway, so this kid is, the way he looks at his mother, the way he acts throughout the episode, yeah, classic Oedipus complex. He is very much in love with his mother. So, the boys are supposed to give a book to Rex Calabrese. Now, whatever work she does, I don't know if she's his bookkeeper, but he gives them the book and he gives them $50. Which, as far as, I don't know if it was Benny or Oz. Which, by the way, the kid that they had play young Oz, perfect. I mean, he had the black hair. He actually looked more like comic book Penguin than Colin Farrell. And Colin Farrell does a very good job. Basically, the only thing he's missing is the dark hair, which this kid had. So, anyway. So Oz is totally enamored with Rex Calabrese. Jack is telling him to be careful around him. Now, I don't know if it was Oz or Benny who said something about how, but he gave us $50. which tells you how freaking poor this area is, that $50 is considered to be a lot of money. Of course, this is also a little kid. So it could also be that he just doesn't understand, what a lot of money is. So they're going to go and run some errands, do that, and then they decide that they're going to play flashlight tag. And I'm like, oh, this is probably going to end badly. And I really thought it was going to have something to do with Rex Calabrese or one of his henchmen or a rival gang or something. It was more sinister than that, and looking back, I should have realized. But Oz always spoke of Jack and Benny in loving terms. He never let on that he caused their deaths. Now, some people would say he didn't technically kill them. I'm going to say yes, he did. Because he set into motion the circumstances around their drowning. So they're playing, and Oz has to go down this ladder in order to get to them, because it wasn't enough to shine a flashlight. Now, Jack claims, oh, I'm sorry, Oz, that they tried to make him do something that he could not do at this point. We find later in the episode he now can do that. And, first off, Jack is supposed to be 15. I realize that 15-year-olds are little snots, usually. But, really? This idea that you did not know that this was going to be hard for him? Don't believe you. And Benny's just a little kid, so he's probably just following Jack, so, you can't totally blame him. And I hated that they kept showing their screams, trying to get Oz to help them, as if Oz was still there. So Oz closes the door. And, see how you like it. Now, I thought that at some point he'd blow off steam and go back, because it looked like he kept looking back, looking at the rain, and then snuggling back up to his mother after he got home. So I kept thinking, well, maybe at some point he's going to tell her, or that he's going to, say, I have to go, I'm going to go check on Jack and Benny or something. But given what happened in the first episode with, well, basically anything regarding Oz, is his anger management needs work. Because he never went back. So, of course, Jack and Benny drowned. And, so I don't know if he he doesn't have dementia to explain why he's acting like he loved Jack and Benny and how the city took them from him. No, you took them from yourself. Because, you left them there to drown. So whether he actually realizes in present day, or he's holed it up in some deep recesses of his subconscious so he doesn't have to think about it. Like I said, this is a psychologist's dream, this episode. And, but he finally gets what he wants. He gets Mom to be only concerned about him. She's showering him with affection, and we even get a early Easter egg to the penguin, because they are watching Fred Astaire and backup dancers, and they're all wearing tuxes with tails. So, and that is classic comic book Penguin. He's usually dressed that way. So, we do get to see, first, we see how obsessed Oz is, even in present day, with his mom, because Victor's lying on the floor bloodied. And all he cares about is waking Victor up, not to see if he's okay. I mean, that was like a brief check, but it wasn't because he actually cared about Victor, but he wants him to put an army together so they can go after Sal and Sophia because they kidnapped his mother. So at the end of the day, the only person he really truly cares about is his mom. He, Victor, he kind of sort of cares about because he sees, I guess, himself in Victor because he has a speech impediment. He, is down on his luck, he needs some guidance, and Oz wants to be there for him. But at the same time, let's be honest. He cares about his mother, and he cares about himself. And anyone else he claims to care about, that's more, what's the word? That's more, conditional. So anyway, that's the last we see of Victor in this episode. So Sal comes in and beats the ever-loving crap out of Oz, which, I mean, I couldn't even feel bad for Oz because he kind of deserved it. I mean, Sal, you killed Sal's family. Of course he's going to be uber pissed and beat the crap out of you. I mean, be glad he hasn't killed you yet. So, all Sal wants and all Sophia wants is the bliss drugs back, which he literally stole from Sophia. So, they go to the underground and to the operation, and Sal gives this big speech about how, this is his and Sophia's operation now. You don't work for Oz anymore, blah, blah, blah. And obviously there are still people these people are still on Oz's side because they shut out the lights so they could get the jump on Sal and his goons. So, he gets Sal in one of the trolley cars, and Sal is giving it his all so much. Now, at first I thought that it was a reopening of his wound on the stomach, but it's more likely that he had a heart attack. And Oz, who actually doesn't know how people work, actually doesn't even know how his mom works that well, but that's a different story. We'll get to that. He gives this big speech over Sal's dead body about how you lost, I won, and I'm just like, he's dead, dude. He had a massive heart attack and died. But I guess he wants to rewrite the narrative that he somehow had something to do with it, which in a sense he did, because that's how pissed off Sal was, that it gave him a massive heart attack. So I guess technically he had something to do with it, but it's not like he beat him or anything. His body literally just gave out. So, he then calls Sophia, who, and he tells her, and, now let's go back to Sophia and backtrack on her. She is with Francis, and this is where she has a boatload of more empathy than Oz could ever have. Even though Oz will do anything to please his mother. Now, I'm questioning now, because she would always be so, some people would say, abusive towards Oz about, I want you to do this, you said you were going to do this. Number one, we saw in the flashbacks that Oz promised that he was going to get her out of this. Number two, I wonder if she knows that Oz is the cause of Jack and Benny's death. And, so that's why she was always so angry towards him and so abusive towards him, and nothing could be good enough for her. It's not because she expected her son to save her from poverty. It's because, one, he said he would do that, and two, what if she knows that he's the cause of Jack and Benny's death? Because he closed them into that area simply because he was pissed off that they were going to make him climb down. Instead of letting them climb back up and do something to apologize, he killed them. So maybe that's why she's so pissy at him constantly and always so angry and saying how worthless he is. Not just because he hasn't given her what he said he would, but because she probably knows that he's the reason Jack and Benny are gone. So, and Sophia, made breakfast, which seemed like a piece of toast. And even Francis brought on that, so did you just bring me here to feed me toast? Implying that that's basically all she was getting for breakfast. So they have a face-off, and Frances is not backing down. She's not letting Sophia scare her. And as they're talking, Sophia pulls up a chair right in front of her face and is asking her about Oz and what happened, and that she knows what happened to Jack and Benny or something, which triggers an episode in Frances. And she lets it happen. She's listening to her go on about, I assume, what happened years ago when Jack and Benny were not coming home. And she's talking to someone, which I don't know if it's Oz or the police, but she's begging for someone to go out and do their job and look for Jack and Benny. And like I said, she could be talking to the police. She could be talking to Oz. It literally could go either way. But considering how Gotham is portrayed as not giving a rat's ass, nobody giving a rat's ass about poor people, I'm going to say she's talking to Oz, because it doesn't sound like the police would actually, look for two little boys. I mean, they're poor. It's not like they're important people or anything. So Sophia goes up to her and just, very quietly, very calmly, very sweetly asks, Frances, where do you think you are right now? Which snapped her out of it, and she goes back to her ways of telling Sophia, don't touch me. So, which is why I say Sophia has way more empathy than Oz does. Because Oz wouldn't have been so sweet about getting her out of her episode, out of her dementia. Sophia, on the other hand, I think she's figured things out immediately. She asks Julian for help, and Julian comes in and he, quite nicely asks, says, I'm Dr. Rush, I'd like to ask you a few questions. So I think at this point they both know without a doubt that she suffers from dementia. And to be honest, considering how nicely Sophia is treating her, and I'm not sure possibly Julian, because I have no idea. Later on there were these red lights. I don't know if they were trying to hypnotize her or what the hell was going on, but so I'm uncertain about that one, but it sounds like they actually have better understanding of dementia and are treating her better about it. Oz has zero concept of what dementia is, so he has no idea what to do about it and how to treat his mother. So, Julian tells her about Gia and how the psychiatrist there, Gia wants to talk to the police. And so Julian's like, we have to do something about this. And I'm just like, Julian is more of a bad guy than Sophia. And it makes me wonder, did he really object to the way Arkham treated its patients, or just simply Sophia? Simply that he is thinking through his dick and he's just obsessed with Sophia, and this has absolutely nothing to do with him being all high and mighty and thinking that Arkham sucks and that Arkham is doing bad things, because he probably didn't even consider it before Sophia. And the only reason he left was because of how Sophia was being treated. Because he actually, implied that maybe Sophia's going to have to kill Gia. That's how I took it. So she goes to visit Gia and first tries to say, oh, no, this was just an accident. You didn't see what you saw, and totally trying to gaslight the kid. And then she saw the cuts on her arm, on her hand, on her wrist, and asked her if she's doing this to herself. And realizing that she is hurting herself because she thinks that, well, it happened, Sophia did kill the family. So Sophia then cops to what happened. Either that or it's some strange logic of, this was an accident, but even if it wasn't, they deserve to die because they're horrible people. So I don't know if this was her actually admitting to Gia that she killed the family, or just her saying, they're not worth hurting yourself over or crying over them. They were bad people. So she leaves Gia's room and then has a bit of a breakdown, bit of a meltdown. It's like she can't breathe. She can't seem to be able to process all that's happening. And then she gets a call from Oz using Sal's phone. And, him telling her that Sal is dead. And I guess that's why he used Sal's phone, so to hammer home that he's dead. And he's making Sophia think that he had something to do with it. Which, no, I mean, like I said, if you want to be technical, maybe, yes, because it was his rage at Oz that caused his massive heart attack. But it's not like Oz bested him in a fight. So he wants to make a deal. Sophia will get the drugs. He'll give her the empire. He just wants his mother back. Now, like Julian said later, it's a trap. It's like, well, yeah, genius. We know that. And Sophia knows that too. Because she's not a moron. And yeah, they're really positioning Julian as being the bad guy in this scenario, because Sophia's done some messed up things, but except for the death at the beginning, all of them can be justified. all the shit that she's done can be justified. And so she says she wants to be free. She, her father put her into an institution, and the minute she got out, she went back to an institution, meaning the family. So she said she wants to be free, and she wants Oz to pay. Which, I take it to mean that either A, she's going to end up dead by the end of the season, or B, she's going to, after she deals with Oz, whether she kills him or not, once she's dealt with him, that she's just going to walk away. Wipe her hands of it and just leave this gangster life behind. Now, whether she ends up going to Italy like the family wanted her to do from the very beginning, or what else she plans on doing, but I do not think she's going to remain in Gotham. At least she's going to leave temporarily, if not permanently. And so she sends a car. Now, this is where I get confused. I thought that the operation was underground, and everybody was underground, and Oz was like, okay, you guys go behind there, you guys hide there, and don't come out until I tell you. So I thought, okay, they're in their underground lair where the trolley cars used to run. But then a car came down the road, which, okay, I'm confused. Are you guys above ground or underground? I'm a little confused at this point. So Sophia calls Oz, and she's sitting in the car, so you still think that she's there. She's sitting in the car, and she's talking to Oz about, what she wants, and, how messed up things are with this whole situation. She quotes Julian. I believe it was Julian, or Julian quote. Now, what was it? That she quoted someone about the drugs, that the winners are still the winners, the losers still, something about, that nothing has changed in this whole situation. Absolutely nothing has changed as to anyone's position. And so he opens the car door, and Sophia basically asks him, so did you find my special surprise? And the way they edited it was beautiful. He opens the door, and someone opens the door for Sophia, and you can see she's above ground. She's by the Monroe. And he uncovers something which he's afraid is his mom. And it turns out that it's a bomb. And there's only a few seconds left, and he's gotten pretty good at walking with that bum leg, and so he manages to escape. But I'm like, he just runs out wordlessly. I'm like, don't you want to tell these people who are actually coming to bat for you and who helped you with Sal Maroni? Don't you kind of want to warn them there's a freaking bomb and they should get out? So I don't know how many of them died. So Oz gets out of it. He manages to climb, and I'm sure they showed us the way he can climb up to, as a juxtaposition of when he killed his brothers, for making him climb down when he still couldn't do that. And, So as he's walking, he picks one guy who he thinks is Victor. And that guy is just looking at him horrified, like, no, 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 and runs off like he's the plague. Which, I mean, I get it. Even if he was collateral damage, even if he wasn't collateral damage, even if he was one of Penguin's men, he probably is like, okay, I'm out. I want nothing to do with this. Things are getting real. And, so then we see that dirty cop from before, I can't remember his name, who says, Sophia wants to see you, knocks him out, and that's the end of the episode. So next episode, there's going to be a final confrontation. Oh, before I forget, Sophia, instead of being where any damage was done, she and I don't know, and I think Julian was with them, went to the Monroe and had Frances with them. So at some point they found out that the key to getting her to unlock her memories and to help with her dementia episodes is the jazz club. So they're probably going to find out more from Frances. And that's why I'm saying they're doing more for Frances than Oz ever did. Because Oz might be saying, oh, I want to do this for you. I want to do that for you. And I'm not saying he doesn't. But at the same time, he's not getting her the help she needs. Because he's, I don't know, afraid that that the world is going to come after him. But he's doing shit that is causing, gangsters to come after him anyway. So I really don't see how this is helping. But anyway, so we'll see. It's entirely possible. I saw scenes from the final episode. It's entirely possible that they kill off Oz. It's entirely possible that it's a bait and switch and somebody else who ends up dying. Now, does Frances end up dying? Possibly. Or it might be that, she'll end up, not necessarily working for, but associated with Julian and Sophia, because she's being all about Oz, and Oz is going to do this, Oz is going to do that. But, they might actually get through to her that the reason she's so bad is because Oz is not giving her the help she needs. So it could be that she might flip alliances, because think about it. Oz will do anything for his mother. He, like I said, it's kind of creepy as him as a little kid. Now, obviously, as an adult, the creepy factor went to nil. He just will do anything for her, but it doesn't feel creepy. Whereas as a little kid, it was more creepy. But, it's entirely possible that through whatever therapy Julian is giving her, because remember, he is a psychiatrist, and I highly doubt he's going to want to be heavy-handed with a woman who suffers from dementia. That if she was a able-bodied woman, he might be a bit more willing to be heavy-handed, but both she and Sophia see her for what she is. She's a feeble woman, she suffers from dementia, and that they have to show empathy towards her. So that might actually, if he does not die, that might turn him into comic book Penguin. Because, she did tell Oz that she might, kill her before her mind is, if her mind completely goes. But what if Oz kills her because she flips alliances? Because, like I said, Julian and Sophia are showing her the kindness that she never got. And certainly not from Oz in her position, because he just didn't know how to deal with it. So yeah, next episode is the final episode of the season, possibly the series. I'm hearing that this is supposed to be just a mini-series, but maybe, depending on whether they manage to kill Oz. I really, really hope they don't kill Sophia. I was seriously bummed that they killed Sal, but he was in such emotional turmoil over the death of his family. And Oz, being the prick that he is, he went, now granted, he wanted to piss Sal off because he wanted to get the upper hand on him, but still, it was such a dickish move to go really heavy-handed about the details of his wife and son being burned alive. And what is this about the son being a bastard? Seriously, what are you implying? Unless, now, it's entirely possible, I don't know how long those two had been married. Maybe Taj was born before they were married. Or maybe he was just coming up with whatever he could think of. Because, why bastard? Bastard has a specific meaning. And it doesn't mean dumb as bricks, which they made out Taj to be. But it specifically means a child born out of wedlock. Now, it's entirely possible that that's the meaning Oz meant, and that we're just learning now that Taj was born before they got married. Or it could be that he's using bastard in a different sense. Wrongly, but in a different sense. So yeah. So, as much as I'm bummed that Sal died, I can see how that would be the end of his story, because at least he's free from the torment. So you could say that, in a sense, this was a happy ending for him. Because now, if even if you don't believe that his soul will be reunited with Nadia and Taj, even if you don't believe that, he's no longer hurting. He is no longer suffering from the knowledge that his wife and child are dead because of Oz. So, and this idea that he thought Oz was a gentleman and that they had an agreement. Now, to be fair, she was only supposed to bring one bodyguard, and it looked like there were more than that. So I can see why he was a little pissed off, but at the same time, he's got to know that he's not being trusted. I mean, from the very beginning, Nadia said, I don't trust him. So yeah. So hopefully Sophia doesn't die in the next episode. Victor already got the snot beaten out of him and he was bleeding. So I'm hoping that he's no longer on death watch. The mom, it's still unsure because she's in danger. Even if Sophia and Julian have no intention of actually killing her, because it sounds like they actually Sophia anyway possesses empathy. The jury is still out on Julian. So it's entirely possible that it could just be either Oz accidentally shoots her or realizes that she switched sides, that she betrayed him because, Julian and Sophia are actually being nicer to her and, dealing with her episodes and actually getting her the help that she needs. So that's possible too. And that either she survives this or Oz ends up killing her for a betrayal. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to mention. Yeah, this was quite the psychological episode. A lot of psychology. I believe that is all I have for this episode. Like I said, next episode is the finale, and they're implying that Sophia manages to kill off Oz. And these trailers usually are creatively edited to make you think something happened that didn't. So maybe they end up killing Oz, or somebody else ends up dying, but I don't think it's going to be Sophia. I hope not. It's possible Julian might not survive this, which, I mean, Sophia doesn't think of him the way he thinks of her. And let's face it, Julian thinks that she's a moron. Because he felt he had to tell her that it's a trap. Yeah, she's not a moron. She's been in this racket for a while. So maybe Julian ends up dying. Maybe Victor does end up dying. Or maybe some of Oz's army, some of those guys who were at that Gold Summit, at that meeting with Oz where they all cracked a beer open. The head of that one, which is supposed to have an international reach, I think he's gonna be safe because he cracked open the beer more as a defiance, more so that he actually is with the group. So I can't imagine he's going to end up dead. He's probably going to survive this because he's not just blindly following Oz, because he knows that Oz doesn't uphold his end of the bargain, like when he saved himself but couldn't yell bomb or anything while he's running off so others could go for cover. So yeah. Let's see what else is there. I think I've covered everything. So with that, I will see you guys in the next video.